Okay, welcome everyone. Let's dive into the crypto world today. We're going to unpack quite a stack of recent reports and market notes we found over on CoinMarketCap.
That's right. It's June 2nd, 2025, and there's always a lot going on.
Absolutely. So our mission here is really to, sift through this information, pull out the key insights, and help you get up to speed quickly on what seems to be actually moving the needle.
And it's a real mix. As usual, we're seeing everything from big corporate plays to significant fund flows, some interesting altcoin movements, and, of course, those brand new projects popping up.
It really captures the complexity of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with maybe a slightly unexpected headline we found via technext.inc, AXIAN Telecom. They've reportedly acquired an 8% stake in Jumia.
Yeah, that one stood out. Jumia, big e-commerce player in certain regions, not strictly crypto.
Right. But seeing it in the crypto feed,
Uh,
what does that signal? An 8% stake is, well, it's pretty substantial.
it really is. I think it shows how traditional capital, like from a major telecom company, is looking at the broader digital ecosystem. It's about exposure to digital transformation,
Yeah.
and crypto and blockchain are often, part of that underlying infrastructure, or at least the conversation.
So it's about presence in that evolving digital economy.
Exactly. Even if it's indirect, it shows those lines blurring, like you said. Big money sees overlaps and opportunities.
Okay, interesting. Now, speaking of money moving, Crypto Breaking News had a piece citing CoinShares data, a big number here, a $286 million surge into crypto funds just last week.
Yeah, $286 million. That's a significant inflow. And what caught my eye was that ETH, was reportedly the top asset drawing in those funds.
So not just Bitcoin leading the charge there.
Not solely, no. But there's a catch.
Okay.
The same report pointed out that this inflow, this buying, was happening at the same time as quite a bit of selling pressure elsewhere.
Right, so not just a straight lineup, it's more complex.
Precisely. It wasn't like a universally bullish signal. You had strong buying, especially in Ether, but others were clearly taking profits or maybe getting nervous. It shows that fluctuation, that kind of push and pull we often see. Mixed signals, really.
And those signals can definitely be swayed by outside stuff, right? Like BitcoinInfoNews.com mentioned the crypto market reacting after China issued some kind of warning amidst U.S. tensions.
Yes, the source presented that as an example of how macro events, geopolitical stuff, can seemingly ripple into the crypto space.
So even decentralized assets aren't totally immune to global headlines?
Well, perception matters, right? How traders react matters. So, yeah, the report suggests these assets still trade or are perceived in relation to these big picture global political and economic events. They're not entirely in their own bubble.
Okay, got it. So we've got the sort of corporate strategy angle, the big fund flows, and the macro picture. Let's zoom in a bit. What about specific coins? Coinpedia News had something on Shiba Inu, SEIB.
Yes, SE. The report basically painted a picture of it looking technically oversold.
Oversold, okay.
And it suggested that maybe some investors are starting to, look elsewhere. Mentioned increased sell-offs, confidence maybe a bit shaken by weaker momentum.
And this ties back to money moving, doesn't it? The report specifically mentioned whales, the big holders, reportedly shifting away from SHIB.
Exactly. And it even named where some might be looking. Something called Unilabs.
Unilabs. So what does that whale movement typically signify? When they rotate out of something established like SHIB into something new?
Well, it's often seen as a signal, right? Maybe speculative capital deciding one thing has peaked or its momentum is fading, and they're hunting for the next potential big runner. They move into newer, maybe riskier plays like this, Unilabs, hoping for higher returns. It shows where that speculative energy might be flowing.
Constantly searching for that next wave. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then we had Coinomedia, which covered a few different things. First up, SUI. It mentioned SUI gaining steam because of, quote, L2 hype.
Right, L2 hype. Layer 2 solutions are all about making blockchains faster, cheaper. That's a huge narrative.
So even though SUI is its own chain, it gets boosted by that general excitement around performance and scaling.
It seems like it gets pulled into that conversation, yeah. Performance is key, so being associated with that scalability trend is likely seen as a positive driver.
Okay. And the same article also touched on Monero, said it was holding steady in privacy markets.
Yeah, Monero's known for privacy. That's its whole thing. So this just indicates there's still a dedicated, maybe niche, but steady interest in that specific corner of the market focused on private transactions.
Despite all the regulatory talk around privacy coins sometimes.
Right. It seems to be holding its ground in that specific segment.
And then same article highlighted something called Qubetics, called it a top crypto presale, saying it pulled in over $17.5 million already.
Yeah, $17.5 million in a presale is quite something. That's funding before it even hits the main exchanges. Shows significant early belief, or at least strong appetite from initial investors.
And its focus, real-world tokenization.
That's another hot narrative, bringing things like, real estate stocks onto the blockchain. So Qubetics is tapping into that interest, suggesting a practical application. That large presale number indicates that message is resonating with early backers.
It really shows where some early money is betting. Okay, slightly different vibe. Crypto Newsland reported on BlockDAGs. Price point apparently very low, 0.0001 at.
Yes, tiny price point.
Yeah.
But the report went further. Lots of speculation. Could it be the next big break, the best crypto to buy now? They even threw out comparisons to huge names like BNB, Tron, Near.
Wow. Okay, so that's less about current reality and more about projecting massive future potential based on what the source is saying.
Exactly. It's pure market optimism and speculative buzz being reported. Those comparisons are setting sky-high expectations, framing it as a potential high-growth, maybe high-risk bet.
High risk, high reward territory.
Definitely seems to be positioned that way in the source material.
And then, maybe even further out on that spectrum, CoinLineup.com mentioned a coin called FEECK Coin. Launched on Solana, reportedly hit a $9.6 million market cap pretty fast.
Yeah. That's, it's an example of the really rapid-fire, sometimes meme-driven projects you see launching, especially on faster chains like Solana.
A $9.6 million cap, almost instantly.
It just shows the sheer speed and sometimes wild nature of speculative capital in certain corners. Social media buzz, quick launches. It happens. We're just reporting what the source stated. New project, Solana chain, initial reported scale. It's another piece of this diverse market puzzle.
Okay, wow, so quite a range there. Let's try and connect the dots here for you listening. We've seen a real mix today from these sources.
Yeah.
You've got that strategic corporate investment, AXIAN and Jumia, showing broader digital economy plays.
Then the big crypto fund inflows, like that $286 million, heavily into Ether, but happening alongside selling pressure.
Right. Plus, external factors like those reported China-U.S. tensions potentially influencing market mood.
Then zooming in, you have an established altcoin, like Esheb, maybe losing favor, with whales reportedly rotating out.
Into newer things, potentially. And other coins leveraging specific trends, SUI, with the L2 scaling narrative, Monero holding its privacy niche.
Qubetics getting huge presale traction focusing on real-world asset tokenization.
And then these brand new, highly speculative projects like BlockDAG with huge comparisons, and FUCK coin launching fast on Solana.
It paints a picture, doesn't it? The crypto market isn't just one thing right now. You've got serious, long-term strategic plays happening alongside institutional flows.
While at the same time, established coins face pressure, new tech narratives drive interest, and purely speculative, high-velocity projects are constantly emerging.
So why does seeing this whole messy picture matter for you?
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
Well, it means you can't just look at one piece and understand the whole market. Focusing only on, say, Bitcoin price misses the corporate strategy stuff. Only watching meme coins means you miss the tech developments or institutional flows.
And ignoring the macro stuff means you might miss external pressures.
Exactly. This mix shows multiple layers of activity, different kinds of risk, different potential opportunities all happening at once. Being aware of these different facets, the institutional, the technological, the speculative, the macro, it just gives you a much richer, more nuanced understanding of what's actually going on.
It's definitely not simple. So here's maybe a final thought to leave you with. We're seeing the simultaneous action. Big strategic investments and major fund flows suggesting some level of maturity or perceived fundamental value.
But at the exact same time, incredible energy and capital pouring into highly speculative brand new altcoins, sometimes driven purely by hype or social momentum.
So what does this blend, this coexistence of the seemingly serious and the wildly speculative, tell you about the current state and maybe the future direction of digital assets? How do these very different pieces actually fit together in the bigger picture? Something to think about.